Hey guys, Banana Luck here. Welcome back to another Watcher of Realms video. You can see we are back on the test server today, and obviously whenever we are on here there's new stuff that we want to show off, and today it's gonna be the introduction of the new two new heroes that everyone has been raving about for quite some time. In fact, we even got a glimpse of Pierre during the Count Dracula event where he was on the artwork. I think after you finish the final boss in the story mode, there was like a cutscene and all that, and Pierre was on top of there with like Praetors or something. And yeah, he's not allied with Praetors as you can see from his faction. He is chaotic cultist, but let's get into it without further ado. So Pierre, new unit, mage, which is surprising. Thought he was more of a fighter. Single target magic attack, AOE magic attack, summons, range boost, so on and so forth. And we'll take a look at his base stats. He's looking at about 5,000 base attack, which is a bit higher than what we normally get on other mages. Cost is also quite low, 15 cost. Have attack interval that's fairly normal, blah blah blah. So yeah, that's it. And then the range is the full-fledged 5x3 range, not the 4x3 that we usually see in some mages. And let's get into his skill kit. So first talent, when deployed, causes HP drain equal to 50% of current HP to self. So this is immediate. And then every 3 seconds, summons a Prismite from a completed portrait based on the number of enemies within basic attack range. So, Prismite Malachite, I hope I pronounced this correctly. If the enemy number in range is 1, so this one does 70% magic damage to one enemy, cannot attack airborne units, and it perishes within 15 seconds. Prismite Combat, if the enemy number is range more than 1, you'll get one that does 70% AoE damage up to 5 enemies, cannot attack airborne unit, naturally perishes after 15 seconds. So right from this alone, you can tell that you want him to do the combat summons a lot more because the damage multiplier is the same. So he's gonna be used, I think, mostly in AoE content. And the summons are every 3 seconds with 15-second timing on this. So I'm guessing we'll have 4 Prismites at any point in time. That's up. And then total number of Prismites that can exist. Cannot exit 2. Oh, okay. Then that's different. Different story now. So we can only have 2 at any point in time. And whenever they do attack, they increase their own damage by 5% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So sort of like a Cataclysm buff. And both... Oh, okay. It's different. My bad. So Malachite, which is the single target one, it increases its own damage and Prismite damage by 5% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times, so 25% damage when it comes to single target stuff. And then Combat does slow instead. So what I wonder is whether Prismite and just increases damage on his own, and does he do slow at the same time? We have to test that out, I guess. But let's get on to maybe the Bond skill first of all. Obtain Roselia, the Paintress, to unlock the following bonus effects. Increases the max stack of overlay attribute bonuses by 6%. By 6. So I think that is one of the passives here. Now, basic attack. Pierre will pain continuously after every 5 basic attacks, causes HP drain equal to 20% of current HP to self, and creates 1 portrait and restores 20 rage. Up to 3 completed portraits can exist at the same time. So we did see here, summons a Prismite from a completed portrait. So he needs to do some of these attacks to be able to summon the Prismites consistently. So if he's not doing any attacks, he's not getting the portraits. My guess is that the summons won't come out at all. Now, first passive overlay. So this is what we just saw in the Bond skill, where Prismite attacks increases AoE damage, max HP, defense, and magic resistance by 2%, stacking up to 14 times. With the bond, it goes up to 20. And then when any Prismite or Prismage attacks, extends Prismage duration by 0.6 seconds. So yeah, I think it's just the longer that you do any attacks, the longer Prismage survives for. So it's like a vicious cycle, right? So the more units that is in his range, the longer Prismage stays alive for, and it also gets some damage increase. Weird that they have HP here, but we'll find out why in a bit. Now, perspective, second passive, when Prismite, Malachite or Cobalt within Prismage attacks range launch an attack, they ignore 25% of the target's magic resistance and restores 2% of Prismage max HP to Prismage. So some survivability there. We can start to see that they want to be all together to be able to enjoy that 25% magic resistance ignore. And then Arena cost reduced by 5. That's interesting because that brings down his cost from 15 to 10. So we might see this guy used in AOE Arena. Who knows? Now, Ultimate, this is where Prismage comes in. Immediately causes HP drain equal to 50% of current HP to self and prepares a Prismage. If a Prismage already exists on the field, extends the duration by 15 seconds instead and reduces the attack interval of all his summons by 15% for 15 seconds. So it's an auto ultimate. You also get it up immediately once you get him out, and you can see here that you need to deploy Prismage yourself. It's not actually a case of you getting like auto summons. So very interesting. He has 3 different summons, and from the looks of it, Prismage looks like he can actually tank because he has 3 blocks. He does 130% magic damage up to 10 enemies, increases damage multiplier by 20% when there's 1 enemy in range, dispels its own debuff every 5 seconds. This one is very interesting, but cannot attack airborne unit, naturally perishes after 30 seconds, and only 1 Prismage can be deployed at the same time. But my guess is that if we combine this with like the passive, where it extends its duration, and combine that with the ultimate, we might get Prismage surviving the whole entire fight. If, for example, we are looking at him, constantly doing his other summons and attacking other units. So that's interesting. And other than that, I also want to point out that because it can tank, it'll be interesting to see how it functions in Malrix. Because in Malrix, sometimes we have some lanes that are a bit sketchy, so can you just despawn your Prismage before he does his ultimate and transfer it to another lane? It will lose out the buffs that you have like this, where the Prismites don't get that 25% ignore, but let's see. Alright, he does have an exclusive artifact, Painter's Palette, increases attack by 20%, Prismage gains 50% physical and magic damage reduction. That's huge. And obviously with all these new heroes that we've been getting recently, we do get like an exclusive artifact shop or something where you can buy at least a copy of it. So I'm guessing that for Pierre, it'll be no different. And obviously, once you max this out, we're expecting to see the attack go all the way up to 30%. That's what we usually have on most mage artifacts that have attack involved. Alright, so now that all that's out of the way, let's take a look at Awakenings. A1, after Prismage gains 14% stacks of overlay attribute bonuses, additionally gains the perspective effect. So what I read from here is that he's just gonna get the 25% magic resistance ignore, but whether Prismage has to be in Cobalt and Malachite's range, we are not sure about that. At least that will need to be tested. Now A2, flat attack. That's nice, especially on a unit that has already a pretty decent high base. A3 increases the total summon limit of both Prismites to 3, and after Prismage is deployed, each of the first 5 attacks grant 1 extra stack of overlay. So overlay is this passive. It basically ramps up even faster and also extends the duration. So 3-second extension, and you get 10% of each of these buffs right away. And you also realize that there's magic resistance signal, there's max HP. We also already have the passive, which gives damage reduction. So it sounds like Priest Mage can be quite tanky if we need it to be, but who knows? Because you do have to build Pierre tanky enough to actually tank Goddess, because at the same time, don't forget that he inherits stats from Pierre, and Pierre actually doesn't have that high of a base HP because it's a mage, so who knows. Now A4 penetration, that's pretty usual. A5 summons Prismites, both of them, based on the number of enemies on the field. So new talent effect, Prismites, Malachite, and Kobat can assist Prismage and attacking enemies within Prismage attack range. So this sounds a bit weird at the moment because we don't know how many of these summons will actually take place, because it just says based on the number of enemies on the field. But I think the talent effect is very interesting, because later what we'll find is that you can actually deploy Prismage anywhere on the map. But if let's say Malachite and Kobat can assist in attacking enemies within his range, it could mean that we can actually put Pierre in a position that's quite out of place and use Prismage to help the Prismites both do attacks outside of their usual range, as long as it's within Prismage range. I know there's a lot of Prismage, so yeah, I hope that makes sense, but obviously we need to test to see how this works out. It is a very interesting unit. Now, with that all out of the way, that's Pierre, at least at the look at his kit on the initial glance. We will do some mechanic testings, then obviously we're going to go into areas like Malrix, Gear Rate 1, as well as Matrix, and also AOE Arena to see how he fares there. And then after that, we'll make our conclusion. So yeah, let's get into it without further ado. Alright guys, so now we're gonna do some testing for Pierre. Specifically, we wanna take a look at what some of the awakenings do, and also how inspiration works on Pierre and his Prismage summons. And yeah, let's get into the testing without further ado. So how we're gonna run this is we're gonna toggle Diao-Chan to see when we switch up the inspirations, whether do the damage values change, and when are these numbers actually snapshotted at, because from my initial testing, it looks like Pierre functions pretty much like Anora, where Anora actually the dragon inherits the stats and it stays that way. It looks like Pierre is pretty much similar in that sense. So let's get in and I'll show you guys how it's done, and then yeah, let's see. Alright, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna put Pierre down. Then we're also gonna do Diao-Chan here. Now, how we're gonna do this is, first of all, we're gonna put Prismage down, and we'll see the maximum damage that we can do here. So damage that we're roughly landing at with Prismage right now is at about 225. Let's see after this down phase if it scales further, because he does need to build up the stacks of overlay and perspective to be able to get the max buff. So we're seeing 231k here. If we switch Diao-Chan right here, you're gonna see that the damage actually doesn't increase at all. So that's what I meant by its snapshots at that very moment. So 231k, it just stays that way. Now I'm gonna put Earlis down for a second here just for the rage regen. But what I want to do is to basically get the next stack of Prismage out. Prismage. And to do that, we actually need him to get his rage back, which he does here. And now if we put down the summon, you're gonna see right away 416. This is way higher than what we did earlier. But I want to see what he does post down phase. And you can see that at a maximum amount of 285 basically. And it doesn't go above that. If let's say we switch Diao-Chan to inspiration, to healing mode now here, it's still gonna stay at that 285k. So it is a pretty interesting mechanic. You could abuse this in many ways, I guess. Because if you snapshot the summons at that very precise point, then you sort of got Pierre at the maximum damage possible. Now let's try something quirky here. We are gonna do Pierre down here, inspiration, and then we'll switch over. And let's see if, let's say, we do the snapshot when he's in full inspiration, and we summon Prismach away from him, whether we still get those boosted values. But bear in mind that there's also overlay and perspective, which is his passive, where if the small summons do attack, Prismach gets boosted damage. I'm not sure if Prismach needs to be in range to actually benefit from that. Now, inspiration range, you can see it's up to here, so we're gonna put Prismach right outside of that range and see what's the numbers that we get to here. So yeah, interestingly enough, it doesn't get to that high amount that we saw earlier. It treats it as if Prismach has no inspiration because we're seeing 231k again. Now let's despawn him, and then we place Earless down just for the boosted rage regen. And if we put Prismach down, we should be seeing that 285k per hit again. So from the testing, we were able to find out that changing inspiration doesn't really matter midway through the battle. In fact, it just snapshots at that point in time, and it does look like Prismach needs to be in range of the inspiration for it to work. So that's pretty interesting mechanics, and I hope that helps you guys in terms of understanding how it works. So here's what we found in a nutshell. Inspiration, like Diaochan, which gradually scales, it doesn't scale the inspiration in real time. It actually snapshots when Prismach is placed down, and when Prismach is placed down, he needs to be in range of the inspiration to benefit from it as well. He cannot be out of range. So if, let's say, we put Prismach on the top lane of Malrix and then Pierre in the bottom lane, then it's not gonna get that significant boost that we're hoping for. And if, let's say, you switch inspiration to healing mode midway through the fight, the final values that you have gotten, so at 285k in this case, that will actually stay the same throughout the entire fight. It is like an aura, but this guy can actually do his summons. You can redo it, so that's the interesting bit. But yeah, that's the testing that I wanted to do with inspiration, and I hope it helps. Now, next thing I want to test out is the A5. Now, the A5 sounds a lot like what we'll see in Verlis, where his big summons will actually follow along with the small summons in terms of attacks. So I'm not sure what it does on the first line. I still haven't figured it out, but the new talent effect here can assist Prismach in attacking enemies within Prismach attack range. So what I treat that as is that if, let's say, Pierre is on the bottom lane of Malrix, which we're gonna test right away, if, let's say, I put Prismach on the top lane, we're actually gonna get the small summons hopping over to, you know, the big summons for help. Now, we're gonna test it on a level 4 here with Twisted Psychophants. Then let's do Gun here as the Lord. The Gun is in 10 gear. Check Grim as well. Okay, there we go. Now let's go in and we'll see how this works out. I hope I picked A5 Pierre, because yeah, that's the only way this will work out. Alright, we'll put Pierre down here. We'll do Grim as well. And then let's do the inspiration mode. I will also put Valara down here to support both lanes. And then let's see how it works in a bit here. See Pierre reducing his HP quite a bit. So let's actually face Valara front now. Actually, we might want to despawn Valara because we want these small guys to actually go help top. Let's see. He's still summoning the things, I guess. That's good. Okay, now let's put Prismach down. And yeah, you can see as expected, it's actually going to go up top and support, you know, gun here. Okay, we'll put Ardea here at the border. And you can see Priestmatch is helping out on the sides here as well. And let's say we despawn this just before the ultimate, we can actually get the summons going up top here to support. And we actually can put him out of range here to be able to deal the attacks. And yeah, because the Prismatch, the small summons are focused there, it doesn't actually go help out the rest. Yeah. So that's A5 for you. It is interesting, but bear in mind that Prismatch in that position doesn't actually get the inspiration buff, which is not ideal, but very interesting mechanics. And then A1 gets that 25% magic resistance ignore that we know about. And then A3 brings the total small summons up to 3 quantities instead of the usual 2 that we get. So yeah, that's all the mechanics that I pretty much wanted to test out with Pierre. I hope that was helpful in just understanding him better as a hero. It is very obvious that Infernal Roar is going to be the best set for him because these summons don't actually benefit from Kata or SBA stacks after they are deployed. It needs to be there when you actually put down the Prismatch, which in my opinion makes Infernal Roar way stronger because it's not dependent on any of those. But yeah, now let's move on to some content to see how he fares in those, and then we can make the conclusion of whether this guy is worth your summons later on. Now, this is a quick one just on GvG. I honestly don't think Pierre will be meta here. I think Rosalia will actually be the more interesting one. But if let's say we were to place him here, you will see that he actually doesn't do anything in GvG autos. I wish they would fix this, but if they were to fix Pierre to actually place down his summons, then by that logic, we will need Alduin to do the same. Yeah, I'll show you what he can do. He's just not going to place Prismatch. He's just going to do his normal summons here. And that's pretty much it. He's not going to do anything else. And it's actually not, I think, Pierre that's doing damage there. I believe it was Catgrim that was actually doing the damage. Because he is in pretty tanky gear. And I don't have Pierre in any damage actually. But yeah, that's a quick one. I just wanted to put this in quickly to show you guys how he is like in GvG, so you can get your hopes away with the fact that, you know, he can use Prismatch to somehow tank for you or something, as that just isn't gonna happen. So yeah, let's move on to the actual testing where we see Pierre in more content. Alright, the first area we're going to test out both of these guys in is going to be in Gear Rate 1 because this is where most AOE units go to when we want to just get a baseline to see where they stand. And obviously we're going to put in the two powerhouses, Valara as well as Azeroth, to see how they stack up against them. But let's get into it without further ado. Alright, so we weren't able to squeeze Verlis because of the 8 slot limit. This is what we've managed to pull through, so let's see. I'm gonna do Pierre first, Beelzebub, Lara, and then after this we can start to put in the rest of the units. The reason why we can't squeeze in too many units here as well is because we have to put Prismatch down. He cannot be healed, so you have to put him on the back lines to use him to great effect. I'm gonna do Rosalia here. And once all these guys are in, we're gonna put Prismatch. I'm gonna do Inspiration first, then put Prismatch down. Let's see how he does here. I'm also gonna put Azeroth down here. Yeah, let's just wait now. Now, Prismatch doesn't get consumed by Azeroth, but the... I don't know what it's called, Prismites, they do actually get consumed, which is good. So now we're just waiting for the next big wave to come in before we pop all the ultimates. Let's go. And you're gonna see the knockback for Rosalia coming in play here. It is pretty annoying because what happens is sometimes you get units not attacking. because they are not in range. So let's see how that works out for us. Alright, there we go. Zella popping her ultimate there. And I think now we can actually go ahead to put down Cyrus. His skeleton stacks will help as well to build out Azura's Darkspawn stacks. And now we just wait in terms of just cycling ultimates back and forth, getting all these units killed out. It's pretty straightforward from here. As long as we can kill this AoE guys in time, we should be able to survive. Go. Get some knockback from Rosalia again. Yeah, team does pretty decent. We are running no anti-heal here as well, so with all that considered, it still does pretty well. We're at almost 2/3 through the entire run. Most of these guys are already dead. And now we're just clearing out what's remaining. So definitely a lot of potential here. But I would say that Rosalia's ultimate is a bit annoying because we can see right here they're getting pushed way out of range here. But she's gonna be definitely interesting in GvG in terms of crowd control, with the knockbacks and everything. So she can't knock back air units, but with the ground units, yeah, this knockback is gonna be doing lots of work. I'm just finishing up here basically. The last few mobs. We might want to despawn Cyrus just so that these guys can come closer. Go. Yeah, it's taking very long because we have no anti-heal. And Rosalia keeps knocking them back into the heal range as well. And yeah, that just prolongs their life here. Maybe it's a good idea to put Cyrus back down again.
My prayers will guide you. And now, my magnum opus!
This match dies there. Put him down again. Yeah, Rosalia is really very counterintuitive here in terms of, you know, doing damage here. She just winds up getting this guy all healed again. We'll put Prismatch down here again. Hopefully he survives. We had already 2 mobs licking through, but yeah. I think that's where we see that Rosalia might not be too great with the knockbacks here, because it results in the units getting healed. If let's say we put in an anti-healer here, it's gonna be the same outcome because they're gonna be pushed out of range anyways. And then now we have put down the rest of the units already. We are going to be able to kill off the boss because he won't be able to heal himself anymore. Yeah, that's basically the run, at least for gear rate 124. And I'm very interested to see damage here now.
Hardly a masterpiece, but she'll do.
There we go. Alright. Not too shabby, considering that Azure has execution. Rosalia is falling a bit short with the multipliers, but yeah, Velara obviously at A1 doing great work here. Pierre is at A0, so not too shabby, considering that with just 4 DPS, we did manage to clear out, this entire run. I would say that maybe Rosalia's ultimate timing needs to be much better. So maybe you knock back after the heal has been placed at the front of those guys, instead of pushing them back and letting the boss heal them indefinitely, which does inflate the numbers that we see here. But at A0, I am pretty impressed with what we're seeing here. And gear is not super crazy as well. It's just your standard Soba Arcana or Infernal Rod on Pierre with some quartz on the left side. So nothing too crazy here, here as well. And both are at A0. So it is going to unlock a lot more options when it comes to, how much damage we can do. And I think Rosalia is going to be pretty decent in Conqueror's Codex as well, because we do have a Countess meta right now. So yeah, those are just some of the things that I've thought about so far after doing this run. So now let's move on to the other content and see how they fare there. Alright, so the next area we're going to test out Pierre in is going to be AOE Arena. This is one of the areas that the devs wanted us to just zoom in on. So we're going to be fighting a classic Arbiter team here. A5 everything, as it should be. And then we're going to see how the Chaos team actually fares up against it. But the thing that I want to point out here is that it seems that with the last Arena rework, the mobs on friendly face-off are once again not lining up to what we see on global servers. They are significantly weaker, so this team could might not 100% work against an actual, proper team when we've had it on live server. But we just want to take a look at it, see the potential. And you are going to notice that we are using Liu Bu here instead, because Liu Bu's Chaos Strike hits both lanes at the same time as opposed to Adea, and his ultimate can be controlled. So for those reasons alone, it seems like it's a better idea to run Liu Bu alongside him instead. I'm going to put Pierre down here, and then let's do the Melech Prismach here. There we go. And in case you guys didn't catch the earlier parts of my video, so after we put Diao Chan down here, the inspiration actually doesn't affect Prismach. We need to despawn him and spawn him again on the next Pierre ultimate. So that's just something to actually take note of here. Alright. Go. So getting a slight edge over the other team, which is good. It's a good indication. Okay, so now the ultimate is almost up. I'm going to despawn Prismach here, because we want to get a refresh spawn with the cost. And then we're going to put him down here. He's going to start to do some hits here again. And we're slightly slower here, unfortunately. But yeah, it is fine. And now it's basically rinse and repeat. He is going to be able to clear out most of these waves. And then later bits, we'll need Liu Bu's assistance here to actually help with his Chaos Strike to clear out these waves. And you can see the small spawns actually hitting beyond the last tower as well, which is what makes him slightly better. It's sort of similar to what we actually saw with Citra, where Citra's A1 could do that unlimited proc and was insanely broken. But obviously with this team, we won't be able to sort of squeeze Citra in, because that doesn't work anymore. And you can see the Chaos Strike one-shotting stuff here. That's exactly what I think their intentions were when they created this unit. And you can see everyone is perfectly out of range as well to, be mitigated from the blast here. And now we're just waiting for another Chaos Strike. Hopefully there'll be a nice timed one here to finish off the wave. There we go. It's still slightly faster than what we see here. And once wave 7 starts, I'm gonna pop the Liu Bu ultimate just to finish this guys off. You can see the Chaos Strike not hitting the last guy because he didn't spawn out in time. And yeah, gonna get these guys off. And last wave, we should be able to get another Chaos Strike here that will give us a slight edge over the other team. Now the caveat here is really that, you know, the arena mobs are significantly weaker. We don't know if Liverpool can actually do the same in an actual run. And now we just wait. You can see that it's really the last few waves that we get that slight edge over the other teams. Now we'll need to hope for another Chaos Strike here. Play out, or maybe it will be slower. Okay, no, we are not. Okay, Pope dies there, that's pretty normal. Let's see what we can do with the last wave here. We're gonna pop the Liverpool ultimate here. So it's gonna reduce the Chaos Strike downtime and hopefully give us a more consistent proc here. And yeah, there's really nothing much we need to navigate here other than popping Liverpool's ultimate. And now we're on to the last wave here. And we do get a slightly earlier clear. Now, this setup may not be optimal as well. But looking at what we can see here, there's a lot of potential to see Chaos being meta again. And you can see damage here, it's fairly equal between these two. Pierre does get you off to a very early start. The only complication I'll see here is the having to despawn Priest Match to get the inspiration refresh. That might be a bit sketchy in an actual run if, let's say, we do it like mid-wave and, you know, the summons leak through or the explosions kill Pierre. Those are what could go wrong. But obviously the team could be very different as well. Maybe Earless is not the best thing to go for here. Who knows? Maybe you guys will find out when, you know, we go into the live server whether this guy is actually gonna be the next meta in the arena. We do need Liverpool A1 at the very least to get his range extended. And then Pierre, I think the A1 is very important as well for the defense ignore. But the rest of the awakenings may not be that essential. But yeah, this is a showcase of Pierre in AOE Arena. And I hope that shares what his potential could be. They are both A5. We do have them in pretty solid gear. Nothing too crazy. We don't have any augmentations going on here. Infernal Raw on Pierre as well as Liverpool with Sova Arcana. And then the exclusives on both of them. That is their best in slot. So yeah, now let's take a look at the other areas of the game and see if Pierre does well there or not. Alright, so next area we're going to try out Pierre in is going to be Matrix. I do want to firstly say that I've done testings on both Rosalia and Pierre separately. Pierre is a bit harder to actually fit into a Matrix team, partly from the fact that Priest Match is actually taking up a deployment slot, and I'm not very sure if I'm actually maximizing his damage. And for those reasons, I'm just not sure if I'm actually using him correctly. So maybe when he comes onto global, people will be able to find much better users for him instead of what we're doing here. And I suck at Matrix, I want to say that, because even with all A5 units, I'm getting almost a similar score as to what I have on my own personal account. So clearly I'm doing something wrongly. So I just want to showcase him anyways, but laying that all out first before I get comments saying, hey, you suck at Matrix. Alright, let's get in and show you guys the deployment that I've came up with. Alright, so we're going to do Azeroth down first, and then switch modes. And let's do, oops, why is the speed not slowed down yet? Then we'll do Ingrid on the side here. And then Nerissa buffing the both of them. And then Magda down. Then we're gonna do Elizabeth facing that side. Then Eloin's is our last invigoration unit. Put Pierre down. Lara, Demi, and then Wukong last but not least. And then we can just split things up here for a bit. Now I'm not gonna pop Beelzebub's ultimate to put down Priest Match earlier. I'm just gonna wait till the usual timings to do that. And when that's the first ultimate will use. And then focus strike when it's ending, pop the ultimates, put priest match down as well. And then yeah, now we are too late with Azeroth. Good plans there. Now we just wait. Eat way through the bar, do the class again. And yeah, we just pretty much rinse and repeat here until we get to the 3-minute mark where we can start to spam the ultimates a bit more. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward, but I do find the damage slightly lacking, and also the fact that sometimes Pierre can just randomly die because he does a lot of damage reduction in his own HP, so sometimes he just dies out of nowhere, and that's quite annoying. So he might do that in this run, I hope not, because it will mean that I have to restart it again. But those are a few of the problems that I've found with him so far, and whoops, I popped Beelzebub's ultimate a bit earlier than I should. The plans here. And see 50% health gone from that. So that's the thing that he does to himself periodically, which, when timed well, can just mean instant suicide. Let's wait. That's the ultimate. Yeah. Cleanse them again. This is where we're gonna cast the ultimates a bit more freely. There we go, switch back. And do the cleanse here, and now we just wait for the next set of ultimates. And yeah, we just rinse and repeat there from here on.
Not so fast.
Go. The cleanse. Delaying Demi's out slightly because we want to make sure that she doesn't tank the decay overflow. Sometimes she dies from that. Despawn that, and then now we wait. Dispel again. Go. Beelzebub gets another round of ultimates here, so we're gonna cast that. Yeah, there you go. It is not as good as my Rosalia run if you watch the other video. And if we look at damage shards here, I don't think Pierre is bad in any way. I just don't see how he works well here. He does very consistent damage so far from all the testing that I've seen. But when it comes to burst damage for the Pact of Silence, it seems like it's not doing really well there. I'm not sure if it's because we have to despawn Priest Match and all that. I don't think that's the case. We do have all the summons lining up together as well, so I'm really unsure if I'm just using him wrongly or he's just not living up to, you know, standards, because he is an ancient exclusive. but he is not even doing as well as what Magda is doing here. It could be that a skill issue and I'm not using him correctly, but yeah, let me know in the comment section if you feel that he can be used differently. But this is the run that I've managed to achieve with him so far. Alright, so that concludes the video for Pierre. So Pierre is pretty interesting. I like the fact that he can do a multitude of summons, but I am slightly disappointed with him in Matrix. I think that I possibly didn't do it properly. Maybe there's a better way to run him. But the reason why I find his kit interesting is because of Priest March. You can put him everywhere you want. And then also from the inspiration test, you could see that you can lock in his boosted damage on Priest Match from the start. And that is actually pretty handy in content where, you know, you can't always get inspiration up. So he could potentially be really good in Arena, but the Arena mobs weren't too strong. So the testing was not done as well. But yeah. And then if let's say you get Rosalia, then it's going to boost the overlay attributes quite nicely as well. So the bond on him is definitely going to be helpful. And then we want to take a look at Awakenings. A1 is actually very big because it gives Priest March 25% magic resistance ignore. And I don't think it's dependent on actually having, you know, it's not dependent on whether or not you actually have the other two units in the attack range. Now A3, that's alright. A5 is the one that I am a bit cautious about because I don't know how much utility it provides where you can give deploy Priest March everywhere, because at the end of the day both Priest March and Pierre need to be in the same inspiration range to get the boosted damage. So deploying his Priest March in another location and having the two Priest Marches go there, you do get the overlay buffs, I guess, and also the HP regen and all that, but other than that, I don't really see the benefit of it. So right now, if you ask me where I see Pierre, it's going to be mainly in AOE Arena, I'll say, and then as well as Gear Rate 1. Matrix, I don't really see him there. GvG definitely out of the question. And I can't use him in Conqueror's Codex as well. So it leaves him in a pretty weird spot. I wouldn't say he's a bad unit in any way. I would just say that, you know, for once, maybe we get to take a break and not have to go all out for a non-lot unit that, you know, is seemingly broken. Because Pierre does seem a good hero, but not anything well and above what we've usually been getting in the last year or so. But yeah, that's pretty much it, you know, what I wanted to cover with Pierre. I really like his design with how unique his kit is. I think the problem that I have here is just whether I can find more users for him, because at this very juncture, I think he's just sort of lacking in terms of where we can put him. And you do also have to take into the consideration that Priest March can be healed. So it does limit where you can put him. He does always need to have the small crystals helping to hit to restore HP to Priest March. Otherwise, Priest March can die pretty quickly. So it's not something that can actually tank for you because his base HP isn't that high. So yeah, that's it for the video for Pierre. It's been a pretty long one. Let me know down in the comment section what you feel about him. I honestly am excited about him in terms of his kit design, but I do struggle to see whether he's worth the summons because ancient non-lots like Valara, Catgrim are just miles ahead of him in terms of versatility, and I'm just not sure whether I'll actually need him. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. And as usual, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like or subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.